Vladimir Putin has wanted to make a deal the whole time. The whole time. What's his name? I always butcher his name. He's like Norwegian or something, but the head of NATO, Stoltenberg or something like that, he said, in his own words, he said that Vladimir Putin told NATO that if you just put it in writing that Ukraine will never join NATO, he won't invade. And he bragged about how he said, no, we won't be bullied around by Vladimir Putin. So we said, screw you, we won't put it in writing. And then Vladimir Putin invaded, okay? What the entire war in Ukraine is about, and I think far too few people in America actually know this, what the entire war is about is that the Russians have determined that it is their red line that Ukraine cannot be a part of NATO. Now, I know in our American head, you might hear that and go, hey, what? They should never get to tell us what we're allowed to do or something like that. But all I'm saying is think about it like this. Can Mexico join China's military alliance? Fuck no, they can't. There's no way we'd allow that to happen. When the communists tried to put nuclear weapons in Cuba, Jack Kennedy said he will blow up the world if they do that. Because, sorry, that was our red line. We cannot have your weaponry in Cuba a few miles off of our coast. We're taking that as a preemptive nuclear attack. And he meant it.
Now, the video you just watched, I played it so that those, people still don't understand what is really going on in Ukraine. People still don't really understand why there is a war in Ukraine. The media giant has made it, has propagated the notion that Russia is a bully. Russia, Putin is mad. Putin is crazy. Recently, Donald Trump even said some. So I played the initial video you just watched so that you could get a simple understanding of all that is happening in Ukraine. Someone might ask, this is reasonable if the US will not allow China to place its nuclear weapons in Cuba, and if the US will not allow China to align itself with Mexico militarily, then I think it makes sense that Russia does not also want to allow Ukraine to join NATO. Then why this war? This is where I come in. The war exists, or this war is going on because NATO and the West, being as arrogant as they are, thought they could weaken Russia. You see, initially, this alliance, NATO, was formed for economic benefits. But it seems like it has been hijacked by some woke entities. When I say hijacked, I don't mean those you see on TV. No. They are just the puppets. They play what the bosses tell them to do, okay? That is why they always have well planned out messages and, inspirational thoughts. They say things just to inspire the woke community. But this NATO has now turned into a weapon machine. You remember what they did in Libya, what they do in certain parts of Africa, that insurgents and terrorists will not stop, so that they will be able to manipulate the economies and the countries in Africa. They see Russia as a threat. Not because Russia is a threat, but they see Russia as a threat. Why do they see Russia as a threat? Because Russia is also a powerhouse. which does not align with their agenda. So I believe what motivated this war in Ukraine was because they sat down, looked at their weapons and what they have, like what you are watching now, looked at their weapons and what they have, and they thought because of the weapons they have compared to what the Russians have, they could easily defeat Russia. But they can't go to war with Russia directly. Then the situation in Ukraine is a perfect situation whereby we support Ukraine with weapons and intelligence and then destroy Russia, and then Russia destroys Ukraine in turn. We keep our soldiers, we keep our land, nobody attacks us, but we will defeat Russia. That was the initial plan. That was the initial plans. They thought their weapons and the money they could give Ukraine would be able to defeat Russia. In fact, they even looked at their size and they thought they were ready to fight Russia. But little did they know that when it comes to war, nobody can predict the outcome of war. The best strategies can take years to plan an invasion, but he will never know the outcome of that invasion because it is war, and war is chaos. And whatever comes out of chaos, nobody knows. So, in simple terms, this is why the war in Ukraine is going on. They are adding fuel to the fire in Ukraine. There is another dimension to what I've just said, which I will also explain in another video. But until then, bye bye.